What's up, weebs? Welcome back to Anime Lane. As always, I'm your host, Notorious, and joining you once again today is Shaun.
Requiescat and Pachi.
Jesus Christ.
I don't think I said that right, but so you're just gonna have to suffer that.
Close enough. I think Requiescat in Pace, if you're wanting the
Yeah, what you
actual.
said.
As you can guess, if you're familiar with Assassin's Creed from that bad rendition of the iconic
I mean, if you read
phrase,
the title,
yeah, if you've read the title, we're discussing Assassin's Creed. I didn't really put much forethought into the fact that we were doing this today because we kind of only landed on it.
we sort of spring this on ourselves because, again, to not go over the scheduling issues and the stuff that's happened over the last few months, we had a discussion episode we needed to make, and we thought, hey, both of us have played Assassin's Creed games recently-ish.
Yeah, that was sort of like a through line of last year. Excuse me.
Yeah.
For me, I replayed two Brotherhood Revelations, then played 4, and didn't I play another one? No, I tried to play one. One's PC port is a nightmare now.
Yeah.
If you've got like too good of a PC, you just kind of can't play it. It's just gonna keep crashing on you, which is crazy.
I think like what the situation was that like what the game tries to do is it tries to connect to a server or like some sort of connection that doesn't exist anymore.
That's one issue which you can fix. But if you have if you have a PC with a certain with a processor with a certain amount of cores, like above a certain amount of cores, the game just doesn't know what to do, it just keeps crashing. It's just like a thing that's just gonna always happen. I think there is a mod for it, but at that point I'd already spent too long trying to get the game to work as is. So it's like I'm just gonna play 2. I'm gonna play the better one.
Yeah, which sucks because like I also replayed 1, I think at some point last year.
I think so, yeah.
Definitely within the last year, and like I have a soft spot for the first game, just to like sort of start off on that, because I am in love with its attempt at immersion. It is fully like it is the one that is so in love with its setup and what and like the vision it's trying to do. You can argue it doesn't do it quite as well as it wants to, but I heavily respect the attempt and like the heart that went into it.
I gotta respect it, but I also gotta say that they tried to make an immersive sim. They tried to bring the genre back at a point in time where it had
on consoles mainly
on consoles, but because,
on the 360 of all things, that shitty little thing.
So because consoles had become the predominant platform for video games and PCs were kind of not at not much of a platform at that point in time, the M-Sim had kind of died. It had just, no one was making them anymore. They were expensive and kind of people didn't really play them very much. They were kind of a niche within a niche.
It was that transitional period where like the consoles were definitely the gamers like space for like the vast majority of people, and if you were playing on PC, it was sort of coming away from just Europe mainly being like an RPG or like an old school RPG slash city simulator or just simulator game in general sort of thing, and like the PC market was trying to be more action oriented and it was stumbling.
Yeah, the big things at the time were either MMOs, Sims, or just retro older PC stuff.
It was trying to re-find its core.
Yeah, so Ubisoft decide, hey, we're going to make an immersive sim ourselves, we're going to try it on console, and they
allude to one at the very least.
They somehow didn't understand a single, just even basic thing of what an immersive sim actually is, because they then got fucking shot in the back of the head 4 years later when Dishonored came out and was like, actually, this is how you do an immersive sim on consoles.
Fuck, you're right. I always forget that like Dishonored came out a few years later and basically did everything Assassin's Creed was trying to do,
yes.
but couldn't quite really do yet.
It wasn't even doing it at the time. It was like 2012 when 3 was coming out. So they were regressing even further away from it at that point in time.
Yeah. But like the other thing is that like it was trying I say it was trying to allude to an M-sim because it was also still trying to be a Prince of Persia-esque parkour action adventure game.
Could you imagine a Prince of Persia M-sim? That would kill. That would be great.
That would be great. It would be great if like the IP was being used for anything, and that if a remake would come out of Sands of Time that didn't just get cancelled at the time of recording. What, a week ago?
A week ago,
2 weeks?
Pretty much. Yeah. Something like that. Yep.
Fuck my life,
Fuck
man.
Ubisoft,
man. I'm not. I say that I've not even played Prince of Persia, but I want to, and it just sucks what's happening to it.
But back to Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, which is fitting because this game was originally supposed to be a Prince of Persia game.
Yeah.
But like one of the things I do love so much about it is sort of off the cuff of that. It's because it also feels the most historical, quote unquote, out of all the games. Like the franchise becomes known as like the historical video game series with mixed results.
Yeah.
But like this is the one that definitely feels like there's not too much of the outside assassins, Templars, hundreds of years of like secret war stuff. It really feels like we're trying to do a game where you play as the actual like assassin order from like that time period, but we're just trying to scrub away some of the the actual history stuff that might get us in a bit of hot water.
Yeah, it's not playing the secret history card of like, here's all the events except just off screen there's all these other events that you didn't know impacted these so like much. Like that is textbook what the series becomes after the first game. But the first game doesn't have that. It hints at it, but it's not so like it doesn't make it as like unimportant thing. Like the assassins and their like whole thing that they're doing in the first game isn't like it's not making it like this is actually part of this is a really important part of a historical event like really well. It's which oh shit, which the third game kind of tries to do with like the American Civil War, Revolution.
Revolution. Yeah.
And that's the one that gets it really wrong, but whatever.
Yeah, it tries, but like for the first game, it really feels like you are basically playing as the actual, basically historical assassins, maybe just sort of sanitized, sort of like not quite fully on. And the Knights Templar really are just the Knights Templar.
Yeah.
They haven't built up their whole, super conspiracy where our order is basically made up of every single important figure known to man throughout all of history quite yet. It really is just the Knights Templar trying to find holy artifacts.
It's so funny.
And the only hint...
It's so fucking funny that we've decided to start talking about this when all the fucking Epstein shit just came out, because man, this is just...
Can we not? Look, that's important.
I'm sorry,
and that's a very big news story.
You said that about like all of the most important people being part of this group, and I'm like, fuck, I wish that didn't feel so real right now.
Yeah, like not to dismiss all that's happening in the real world right now. I don't want to be like that, but we have to focus on the lane here right now.
I know. It's just oh god.
Yeah. But like they hadn't quite done that yet. The only hint was that like, oh yeah, Abstergo is technically a descendant of that ancient order, but like we don't know the details of it quite yet. So my point is the first game has that sort of niche to it where it feels a lot more historical and a lot more like, oh, you're just doing your assassin things that they've, typical routine stuff that you do.
Yeah.
Scout out a target, get the information in a city, eventually assassinate your target, and that's the chapter done. The failing is that you have to do that 9 times in a row, and there's not much variety in that.
It's
after a while.
It's kind of strict in how you are meant to approach it, which is, again, why it doesn't really understand what an MSim is. MSims aren't, like, immersive in the fact that, oh, you're living this very, like, prescripted life that you have to do all these very specific tasks. No, MSims are MSims because you can just do whatever you want. The approach to your objective is so malleable that you can just about do anything. Like, that's what Deus Ex is known for, like, really kind of making that a core tenet of immersive sims.
Or like Vampire, like Bloodlines was sort of like that as well. Maybe a little bit more linear, but like you had a lot of variable ways you could like go about things, and like how you built your character could completely change your experience on certain like aspects of the game. Assassin's Creed doesn't really have any of that. You're basically doing you've got your shopping list of stuff to do, and you do that 9 times to finish the game.
Your blips are on the map, or you can't see the map. You got to go to the tower and hit that blip on the map, and then you'll be able to see the other blips on the map. It's the start of the Ubisoft formula.
Yeah, it is the genesis of that formula, and in the year 2026, it is nice to go back to a very simpler version of that when it wasn't like padding out the game for 100 hours. It's basically just for 9 hours. The problem is I was still playing, like, I'd say 70% of the game, listening to something else in the background and just falling out my tasks mindlessly.
Yeah.
Which is not the hallmark of a great game. But I liked it anyway because, 1, I respected what it was doing, and 2, I'm not going to shy away. Nostalgia.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I have nostalgia for the first game, but the first game is always the one of, like, I might just hit a certain point where I don't care enough to keep going with it because of that sort of, like, rinse and repeat approach that the gameplay has. It's always that point where you do have, like, a bunch of targets back to back that I'm like, I just can't do it. And then I'll move on to 2.
Yeah. See, the thing, and 2, to move on to 2, sort of managed to become a fantastic game by actually being a video game.
Yeah. Who knew that having, like, an interesting roster of characters that tells an actual story and then has good gameplay mechanics on top of it with an interesting
would
world
get you a masterpiece.
Would get you a masterpiece, yeah. Who knew that taking one of the actual, like, best places to set a parkour-focused video game would actually make it a fun game to play instead of a barren wasteland that you've got to go... I don't mean it like that, but there's nothing in the world of 1 except giant plains that you need to go on horseback from one city to the other.
No, there's something. You can collect flags.
I don't give a shit. I honestly don't care.
This
is like them putting 100 feathers in Assassin's Creed 2. I simply do not care.
But if you don't do it, your mother will be sad.
I don't care. I don't care about the Animus fragments in 4. I don't care about whatever the hell they put into Brotherhood and Revelations. That was when, you can see the difference in 1 and 2 and onward because it's immediate of there's, 2 is a great game, and a lot of the games some of the games that follow that are very good. But there's an explosion in the open world approach that makes some stuff kind of tedious, and thankfully the feathers thing is like a completely optional thing. It is something I will constantly make fun of, but it is the least important aspect of the game, which is why I can take aim at it and say that's funny that they thought everyone's gonna go, I'm gonna go look for all these feathers. No, unless I'm using a guide, I'm not looking for them.
Yeah, like, I don't care. The only extra thing I really care the most about, or well, there's two of them actually, in two. One, the Altair armor,
Mm-hmm.
because that's a
Which is
collection
story
of.
required as well.
I always forget it's story required. That's the thing. I
Yeah.
always think of it as like an extra thing, but no, it is story required.
Yep.
But that's also like at least fun, and that is basically a bunch of obstacle courses
Yeah.
that test your skills. That, you know, test your skills on the mechanics that you're using 99% of the game anyway, so you want to be good at it.
Yeah.
And the other thing, which is the truth, which again is a mixed thing of using your parkour to get to the truth segments anyway, and then after that, it's puzzle solving where you get neat lore.
Yeah. I'm kind of indifferent.
We have very different opinions on this, don't we?
I'm mostly just indifferent to the truth stuff. I watched it. I did it all the first time, watched through it, got the whole shebang, and was like, "That's cool. That's interesting." And then any other playthrough, I've just never had the urge or interest to go back to. I think because it's that sort of information you log in the back of your brain, and it's something that's so indelible about the game that you never forget it. So I don't feel the need to go back and do it all again, if that makes sense.
I absolutely love that whole side sequence just to like go into it, because that felt like it was when the actual deep lore that the game was actually trying to do now outside of the actual main story felt like it was at its most. It was at its strongest in what it was trying to convey, because it's like fully in that late 2000s conspiracy mode. You know, before conspiracies were dumb and unfun, it was back when, you know, it was more just about like, you know, Da Vinci Code.
I was about to say it's literally the Da Vinci Code style of conspiracy theory.
Where, you know, it's stupid. If you actually believe that stuff, you'd be insane.
Yeah.
But, you know, in a fictional medium, it's fun, and you feel like a genius for trying to figure all this stuff out.
Yeah, like there's something to be said about the fact that when I was in my first Assassin's Creed High, which would have been slightly before Revelations came out,
2011, 2010.
Yeah, and I had played 1, 2, Brotherhood, and I had all the novels that were released at that time, which actually was just Renaissance, which was the adaptation of 2, and Brotherhood. The book based on 1 didn't come out until shortly before Revelations, I think, because it sort of ties in to Revelations and Revelations novel adaptation. But that sort of high of like replaying those games all the time, reading those books, I then did read the Da Vinci Code at that point in time, and I loved it back then because it fulfilled that same feeling of like that innocent
hidden history, trying to find that sort of like, you know, making yourself feel smarter than everybody else, even though in the back of your mind you knew this was like fiction.
Yeah,
this isn't real.
Yeah, it's like it's that conspiracy theory like appeal where it's not got any real world implications, so it's not that big a deal.
Like, you're not gonna read Da Vinci Code and feel like I need to bomb something or whatever. You're just gonna be like, you know, okay, what if you could imagine a world where this was sort of true, and like what would you do with that information without actually taking in that information?
Yeah.
I feel like there's no great way to describe what I'm trying to describe, but I'm hoping I'm getting it across. And like the truth segment specifically in 2 captures that perfectly for me, just in like the atmosphere of all the sections, where like there's these uncomfortable pauses between like the parts. There's these audio entries on like talking about, you find like these redacted emails of powerful people describing horrible things. Oh god, what is this Twitter thread that's on my page right now? It's fiction. It's fiction. I'm talking about the fictional one. Yeah, it does it so well, and it makes it just sort of makes the lore feel so much more rich than what it actually sort of ended up being after that.
Yeah.
But we're not there yet, so we can talk about 2, and 2 is great. We haven't even mentioned one of the best protagonists in the series yet.
Ezio Auditore Differenze.
I fucking love you, Roger Craig Smith, and everything you do.
He punctured the boulder.
He punctured the boulder, he jumps on the Eggman.
He dived from real high place. Punch Pope.
Yeah.
He fisted the Pope.
Everything he does, great. Put that on my tombstone. With context.
2 is just such like a great exercise in personal stakes. You know, like Ezio is not an assassin. Not when we start the story. He witnesses his entire family, aside from his mom and sister, like be killed in front of him, and it very personally ties him in to these events. He for the majority of the game does not care about the Assassin Order, does not care about being trained, does not care about being ingratiated towards any of the members of the Assassins that he doesn't know are actually all standing around him.
Yeah, okay, so that's like the weakest part of the game, though, if we're going from a story thing. I cannot believe that, like, every single mentor character we see in that game just magically turns out to all be assassins. Like, sure, it's a nice feel-good moment at the end of the game, but at the same time, you're thinking, all of you?
All of
really?
You?
Every single one? Huh. I feel like I didn't really have any agency then in my own story.
It's the fact that, like, Bartolomeo is like the only one narratively that makes sense, and then you're kind of there when all of them appear and you go, even Machiavelli?
No,
really?
no. I will say Machiavelli is the one that makes sense to me in my mind. Like, I could see that he would be a part of this in this universe.
In a historical context, 100%. And the narrative we are presented for Ezio, where his dad was an assassin, and Ezio finds this information, somehow Machiavelli's just not mentioned?
Oh, okay, yeah. On that sentence, that makes no fucking sense. You'd think he'd have come out... You'd think he'd at least be like another uncle figure, apart
He's the
from
mentor of that faction of the Brotherhood. He is the head. And yet, somehow... No...
If I recall correctly, he only appears like twice in the whole game. One when you first meet him, and the second time when he's like, oh yeah, I'm the mentor of the Brotherhood, by the way.
Yes!
But like, ignoring that part, the rest of like the personal story, where like Ezio does not give a fuck about the ideology or the goal of the organization or whatever. He is there to learn to kill so he can get his revenge.
Yup, and that's what makes such a compelling and engaging story in video game, because the first game really suffers in that when you take over playing Altair at the start of the game, he's pretty high up in the Brotherhood. He has all the work. It's the classic video game move of, here's all your powers and we're gonna take them away so you can earn them back again, which is one of my least favorite approaches to opening a video game. Don't give me that.
He gets hit with the Metroid syndrome, yeah.
And then it's hard to care about his journey of falling from grace and trying to work his way back up because we don't know him, and the game never really spends enough time for us to get to know him.
Because of the way 1 is structured, like, the way you're introduced to, like, Altair is that he's an obnoxious, arrogant arsehole that you're kind of confused on how he got as high as he did.
And then you're like, oh, cool, I need to play as this guy? Okay.
Yeah. But then because of the way, like, 1 is structured, where, like, you're not really getting cutscenes or an actual narrative for, like, 80% of it. You're doing a shopping list of tasks on repeat for almost 9 times. It feels a lot more like of a sudden thing where like you hit chapter 4 or chapter 5 and he's suddenly like, I've been an arsehole, I need to stop, I'm so sorry, bureau guy, that I was rude to you the first time. And it's like, that's cool, you're giving us the illusion of character development, but you've not really shown us you actually growing, other than, wow, killing these people specifically makes me feel bad. Whereas with Ezio, because like it's fully focused on his personal journey, it ironically makes him joining the Brotherhood feel a lot more impactful near the end, where he like actually begins to internalize, oh, maybe there's more of a reason to do this than just to kill people out of vengeance.
Yep. Because he then spends the game, like, yeah, full-heartedly focused on this as the next target for my revenge, but like he encounters characters who he kind of comes to like care for, to help, and then to realize, oh, maybe, you know, being part of the Brotherhood allows me to help them in ways that I wouldn't be able to do on my own.
It does this really great subtle thing where like as he's learning more about how to like do the Brotherhood killing people thing, he sort of comes across the people that like the Brotherhood tries to protect. Like he comes across like beggars, he comes across the people fucked over by the system, he comes across sex workers and stuff like that, and like they help
Sophia,
him in his...
what's her face?
yeah, there's that stuff too, but that's cool. But like he comes across these people, and it's subtle, and subtly he learns, oh, these people that are sort of looked down upon in society are not being treated right by the powers that be, are actually kind of cool, and I've got cool ties to them. So that when you get to the end and you realize, hey, the Brotherhood is all about helping these people and, you know, sticking it up to the powers that be, he's like, oh, I get it now. And then he punches the Pope in the face.
He fists the Pope.
Yeah. We're never going to live that down.
No.
For context, dear listener, like right after you played Assassin's Creed 2, you watched Conclave?
Conclave, yeah.
And in your Letterboxd review, because both of us have Letterboxd review, you've listened to us long enough, you should know that we've got Letterboxd accounts and stuff. You've made a typo of saying, I watched this movie after playing Assassin's Creed 2 where I fisted the Pope.
Yeah, I meant to say fist fight the Pope, and it for some reason auto-corrected to fisted the Pope, which is, you know, different implication.
And we're never forgetting that.
No.
You did that.
Two also works because the location switching that it does is really good as well. There's a lot of different... There's different enough places that each town, each city, I should say, feels different in how you navigate and how you interact and explore.
It's the thing that like one tried to do and didn't, where like it's in basic terms, it's like the three different locations with a sort of central hub with Uncle Mario's villa as like the central thing. Yeah, that. I'm terrible with the Italian names, so I'm not even gonna try. I can say Venice. That's about it. But other than that, it's the three things. But because you're actually doing different things each time you go there, it feels fresh every time, and you're not just like, okay, I'm back here again, having to do the same thing again. I wish I was done with the game now.
It's also that like each one feels like it has its own identity, because obviously they're based on real Italian, you know, places. I think you have frozen, Shaun. I'm gonna wait for you. There, okay, you are back. I thought you had frozen for a second. I was like, oh okay. No. But they're based on like real places in Italy. You have Florence, you have Venice, and you have the other one whose name I cannot recall.
Third place.
The place with all the towers. That's sort of its defining thing. It's near Monteriggioni, not Rome. Oh my god. Actually, no, it has another one, because there's also the location of like where Caterina Sforza lives. Which is sort of like a transitory location. You can only go there because you need to go to Venice. But yeah, there's
like the DLC area that I'm thinking of, because there's DLC sequences.
Yeah, that is from the DLC area. I always forget that is part of the game that you're forced to play if you own the DLC on the original releases, or if you just own the Ezio collection in general, you need to play that.
Yeah, which should be the main way you're playing it these days on like modern systems and stuff. It's a good collection.
Yeah, I just wish you didn't need to play those 2 sequences, because one of them fucking sucks.
I'm gonna be honest, I've completely forgot about the other sequence, and I don't think I care to learn what it was.
Bonfire of the Vanities, I think.
Oh my fucking god, it was that one, yeah.
Yeah, where you kind of just go back to Florence, into the part of the map that the game was like, you can't go here yet.
Yeah. Which I kept falling into because it feels like I should be able to go there just to get to another part, but the game's like, no, you can't.
Yeah, and then you basically you do the first game again.
Yeah, it's a reference to the first game, but like having played the first game, like again, I didn't want to play the first game, and 2 at that point, I was done with the first game.
My main issue with those 2 DLC things is that they're pace killers, because the Katarina Sforza one...
They feel like detours.
Yeah. The Katarina Sforza one is good. Like, I do like that. I do like the story. I like Katarina Sforza as a character because of the sort of, like, relationship she has with Ezio, which is the novelization.
Yeah, like, she's great.
Yeah, the novelization does it pretty well. You get a bit more of that in there. But at that point in the game, you would typically jump from the sequence before those 2 to the last sequence, and putting those 2 in there as mandatory experiences that you have to play when you should normally jump to the end just sucks. It's just not fun. Let me go back to them. Like, still give me that, like, oh, these sequences are corrupted, and then you go to play the ending, and then, you know, you get the, you know, after credits where it's like, oh yeah, you know, those 2 corrupted ones, you managed to fix them, so you can go back and experience them if you want.
Yeah. You don't even need to do the corruption thing. Just, like, completely do the game as it was on release, as it was, and then after, like, the credits, you can just have an extra thing of, oh, hey, we've got 2 additional things we found here as like an in-between if you want to do some stuff.
The thing is, the corruption thing exists because those 2 sequences were meant to be part of the game originally, but were cut for time, and so that exists in there because they knew they had to cut them, and then we're going to release them as DLC later, so you do get this if you play it on like PS3 or Xbox 360 without the DLCs. You get this moment where Rebecca says, oh, we're trying to access these, but the memories are too corrupted, so we're going to try and find the next part that isn't corrupted, and that part is the last sequence. And so that's because you do get that line where they're like, oh yeah, we fixed it, and you just immediately go in if you play the Ezio Collection version, where you just immediately get sent in. So I kind of wish they had kept that setup, and just kind of after the credits gone, oh yeah, we managed to fix it, rather than forcing you to play them there and then.
And if you're doing the Ezio Collection, maybe you could even do like, I almost want to call it a Mass Effect thing, where like a menu pops up, they're like, do you want to move on to Brotherhood now, or do you want to do these extra 2 sequences?
Yeah. But yeah, it's 2's probably still my favorite one, like, to this day.
For my own like experience with the series, I only played the Ezio games, ironically, like after I had played like a bunch of the other games.
Oh wow!
So to finally go back, I only played them for the first time just those like couple of years ago when I got them on the collection.
Crazy. That's actually crazy.
I know. Yeah, you gotta remember, I was experiencing all that the first time.
That's nuts. What I'd give to experience them for the first time again.
And maybe you can sort of see why I like the Truth sequence so much. I've only played it once.
That makes sense. I've done it many a times over the years.
Okay, so there's that context now. But my point was, after having played the other games, 2 kind of does deserve its reputation of being like the best in the series still, except for maybe Black Flag.
Yeah. I like Black Flag.
Well,
we'll get to it. Don't worry. We'll get to it.
Yeah. Like, 2 does deserve its reputation of being like one of the high points of the series, because it is just that good. It's just everything that worked in the first game, but actually given good gameplay and a narrative. It's too bad the ending just sort of happens, though.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking, because as a game, Brotherhood is just the next part of 2. It's not.
It is 2 part 2.
It's not a sequel. It is literally just still 2. Oddly enough, like
part 2.
The biggest distinction now, if you're playing them, is that the Brotherhood looks far better. There's just a massive visual kick in the balls that happens when you jump to Brotherhood, because 2 looks a bit rough around the edges now. I really do think that it would benefit not from a remake, absolutely fucking not, go fuck yourself, but a proper remaster where they just go in and touch up the textures a little bit.
Yeah.
Because the jump, even playing 2 on its own, I was like, whoa, I do not remember it looking like this. But then you go to Brotherhood and it's like, oh, that's what I remember it looking like. There's just a clarity and quality to the textures that doesn't exist in 2. But Brotherhood...
The thing that always sticks out for me is like the way the robes look on like Ezio, like especially like the default white ones, where like in like 2, they come across as like sort of just, you know, video game clothing. They're like just a sheet of white on like as a texture across like the actual clothing, whereas like in Brotherhood it looks like actual fabric that he's wearing. For
me, it's the facial textures, because in 2 there's this almost you know, like source filmmaker YouTube fucked upness about them at times.
It still looks like it's working off a late PS2 graphics engine that's been touched up a little bit.
And then, you know, you go into Brotherhood and it looks like a proper, not next gen, but there's proper facial animations, there's proper facial textures that I don't think this would have been mocap at that point in time. That's maybe a little early for that era, because Ellie Noir was really the first one to really do that, I think.
For faces, absolutely, yeah.
But you know, it's a prettier game to look at.
Absolutely.
It's just a shame it's not got more substance. I do like Brotherhood, but it's very much a like dragged out process of a game.
Yeah. For context, by the way, just on the development side, so Brotherhood really literally is just like really the last third of 2 as its own game, because 2 was originally supposed to be longer, and that's part of the reason why those 2 sequences were probably cut and put into DLC, because they just ran out of time to really finish the game. And it's why it abruptly stops where it does after you punch the Pope in the face.
Yeah.
Because Brotherhood is basically what they didn't have time to finish for 2, expanded out into a full game.
Yeah.
That they could like release like a year later.
Yeah, because like if you just focus on the story, it's not particularly long. It's maybe 6 to 8 hours at most. Problem is, there's a lot more to do in the open world in Brotherhood. Like, they kind of went ham on side stuff for you to do. Some of it tedious, some of it kind of interesting, like Da Vinci's War Machines and some of the other like Templar side stuff that they did. The actual story itself, however,
it's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's really centered around a bit of a needless conflict for a lot of it between Ezio and Machiavelli, right?
No, I think Machiavelli isn't as big into the game as you'd think he is, because it's more about Ezio learning to become the mentor.
Yeah, but there's this weird conflict that runs through it where he thinks that someone's a traitor, and it turns out to be someone else, I think.
Okay, yeah. The most I remember of Brotherhood's story is more to do with the Borgia stuff, though.
That's the thing. That's the most important part. They just didn't have enough of it to make the game last.
No, the thing is, they focus on... So throughout, like, 2, the main antagonist is, like, I forget his name, Gregory Borgia or something.
Rodrigo Borgia.
Rodrigo. I don't know where I got that one from, but
Gregory's not
Rodrigo,
even remotely an Italian name.
No, I was like, that's Russian, but. Rodrigo, he's like the main antagonist of 2. You're building up to like getting him. He is the Pope that you punch at the end.
Yeah, which is wild if you know anything about the history of the Borgias, because you're like, this can't possibly end here.
No, but like at the same time, the fact that they're like part of this universe's Templar Order, you're like, that makes sense.
Yeah,
they had a lot of power at that time.
Yeah,
but Brotherhood makes the baffling decision to not focus on Rodrigo again. Instead, he's basically a background character compared to his son, who has none of the depth.
Yeah, I got like I don't know how to tackle this. They tried to take a very interesting family from history. And didn't do any of the interesting stuff about that family in history. Because the Borgias
They
were...
did.
No, you go.
They focused on the Game of Thrones-esque thing, which was impressive because Game of Thrones hadn't started for like another year at that point. Where it's like, oh, the brother and sister are doing the bad, they're doing the nasty.
Yeah. Which I think was true to life.
It was a rumor.
It was a rumor
at the time. I know that. I can't remember if like there was actual truth to it or if it was like a smear campaign.
Yeah. The Borgias are...
It was definitely like, you know, in popular culture, that's a thing that is attributed to them. So like, it's historical or at least authentic to the time, but it's more just like, other than that, they're both just kind of stereotypically evil people.
Yeah.
Like they're Lannisters basically. They're the Lannister kids.
And at least in like 2, well, Rodrigo was the main antagonist. He, for a lot of the time, you didn't know who he was. He was called the Spaniard. And you were working at other targets who had other connections to Ezio. Sometimes they didn't necessarily have like a direct connection or anything like that. But there was enough of like you understand the branching nature of this conspiracy that Ezio is unknowingly tackling in his quest for revenge. And eventually that leads to Rodrigo Borgia, the Pope, the Spaniard.
Yeah. You uncover him basically on who he is, and you're like, okay, I have my target.
Yeah. In Brotherhood, the main antagonist is Cesare, who's not around for most of the game, and yeah, I don't know who else you go for. I mean, you do deal with the sister a bit. She's not
a little bit, yeah. You basically say, hey, you're a shit, and she's like, yeah, I am, aren't I? And that's about it.
But there's no other like real noteworthy antagonistic characters that you deal with in that game.
Not that I remember, no. Like, you do see Rodrigo again in that game, but like the revelation with him is that he's basically been like, you know, I don't really care about the Templar lust for power thing anymore. I've sort of mellowed out, and I just want to I'm just sort of content on where I am now.
Doesn't Cesare then kill him at the end with a
poison
apple?
And then Cesare kills him, and it's like, wow, you were growing depth there, antagonist, and now you've been killed by the one with none of the interest. Fantastic. Maybe that's true to history, but for a narrative, it's just sort of disappointing.
Yeah, the whole poison thing is sort of in line with the pop cultural myth around the Borgias. I don't know the specific veracity of it, if it's really true. I know it is so historically pop cultural because it's even brought up in the Count of Monte Cristo multiple times.
Wow.
So it is a very recurring and well-known thing from history. Weird that the game doesn't do anything else with that, because they were kind of notorious for they would have dinners with these either high up bishops or other papal figures, and then, you know, a few days later they would be dead. and no one would have an explanation as to why.
That feels like it would be a prime sort of Templar storyline where like they did that to replace them with more loyal like people of the Order.
Exactly.
But that's not an aspect that gets like focused on at all in the narrative. It's just sort of more it because so much of the narrative is taken up by Ezio again and his like journey to becoming mentor that the Borgias kind of suffer because of that. So we end up getting these like one note sort of they're the villain to be the villains thing.
Yeah, you spend more times doing the GTA San Andreas turf wars in the game than anything else.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that did happen. And don't forget the micromanaging of your actual brotherhood where you just send the guys on missions.
God, why is that like a mainstay feature after this point?
Oh boy, I can't wait to talk about fucking Kenway's fleet.
Oh. Yeah, Brotherhood is very much like a game you play and you're like, this was cool, this is fun. It's very much an expansion of 2 in the sense of I feel like I should have gotten this as a disc that I needed to play. And I think if it was that, I think it would persist longer as a more rounded out experience. Whereas as a game on its own, I think it kind of flounders as the middle game.
Yeah, it really does. It definitely feels like the middle game of the Ezio trilogy.
Because then we've got Revelations, which is the one you can kind of tell they did make because they wanted to, instead of just being a continuation of 2, because there is a big time gap in the storyline.
The story of how that game came about is interesting because originally it was a 3DS game.
Yeah.
That then got upgraded to like a full home console thing. The story of the Ezio trilogy is very much this was not meant to be a trilogy at first. It just sort of came out that way, and it did it surprisingly well.
Yeah, because they were trying to make 3 for years at that point, and it kept getting pushed back because the game was so ambitious, which is funny when you've played it.
We'll get there. Focus on Revelations.
But Revelations, you wouldn't know, like, if you just play it, that it is like a home console. That it was like a handheld thing bumped up to be a home console game. And that's probably because they had to rework it entirely from the ground up the moment it became.
Oh, yeah. Like, I imagine it's not, like, close to whatever build they had ever made for, like, a 3DS version, because this feels like a full-on console game. Which is going to make the next thing I say funny, because most of its plot...
Yeah, I like Ezio's personal journey across Revelations. I think that is the strongest thing about the game. It has one of Assassin's Creed's greatest cutscenes to ever exist.
Yeah, I need to stress, Revelations is a game that is wholly saved by its ending.
Yes, it's a game that you can play in a single day. How do I know this? Because I've done it a couple of times.
You did. You did do that.
So easy to ignore everything outside of the story and literally just play the story.
Because you really don't need to do anything on the side stuff. But like, the thing is, the main story, like, it's not bad as like most of the story. It's a decent sort of like journey through like Istanbul, but the main like there's the only things that like have major series wide like impacts are the Altair sequences and the ending itself.
Yeah.
And I know that because being that this was the first Assassin's Creed game I played,
Jesus Christ,
they were the only things I remembered when I played it for again for the first time a couple of years ago.
That's crazy. I can't believe this was
I had
your
forgotten
first
like
one.
Yeah, so I made the dumb choice as a kid to get this one first because I was like, well, it's got 2 of the protagonists in it, so I get to learn about both of them.
Oh my
The Altair stuff is interesting because you don't necessarily need the context of the first game to fully like.
No, you learn far more about him in this than you do in the first game. He makes more sense.
You
as
learn
a
far
character.
more about him in 2, where he's not actually a character.
That's true.
But like, I like that stuff. But I had forgotten basically everything about the Ezio story from my first time playthrough, which is surprising because it is probably the best part of the game. Like on the main story stuff itself, outside the Altair stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like his budding relationship with what's her name?
Oh,
his wife. Is it Sophia again?
It's not Sophia. What is his wife's name? It's not Katarina.
It might be actually.
Ezio wife. No, he doesn't marry. Sophia Sartor. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so it is Sophia. Yeah, but that whole relationship's cute. You could maybe say something about the age gap, but let's not go into that.
Yeah, let's not get into that. That we don't need to talk about him being a 40-year-old man at that point in time.
Yeah. Different time. She's at least she's like in her 20s.
Yeah. At least she is an adult.
Yeah. We need to stress that. If it wasn't, then we would be a lot more sour on it than we are.
Oh, 100%.
We're already a little sour at it.
Yeah.
But like, for what it is cute. It is nice. It is nice to see Ezio finally beginning to settle down.
Yeah.
And accept the fact that he can't really do this forever.
Yeah, which he's already been doing it for a long time at the point that we drop in Revelations.
He's put a lot of work into the Brotherhood, so it's nice to see him just sort of being like, I've given enough. Mm-hmm. I don't need to do anymore. It's like the old man Logan thing where it's like I'm ready to stop.
Yeah.
But it's also nice to get like a really good send off to Altair and sort of get how he kind of had a very tragic story if you really think about it.
Yeah.
Because Altair in Revelations is sort of like the warning story for Ezio, where like, because after the first game we learned that Altair also gave basically everything to shape the Brotherhood into its modern version, relatively, the version it would go on to become in the centuries afterward, but it cost him like his wife, his first kid, I want to say, one of his kids.
Yeah, it must have been his first kid. Yeah, because I'm sure he'd had a kid before he met the wife that we know about. I'm pretty sure he's on his second wife.
I can't remember the details, but I'm sure like he loses his wife and he loses like one of his kids at the very least. Mm-hmm. So he loses a lot. He gets exiled from the Brotherhood for a long time. And it's only when he's like 90 something with the Apple of Eden that he recognizes he's using a bit too much, but he can't really do anything without it. That he takes back the Brotherhood, and then he's like, I just want to die now.
Yeah. And at that point, it doesn't matter what he does, because like that part of the Brotherhood's already failing at that point in time. And yes, it's spread out, but what he's worked to achieve, he's sort of seeing crumble in front of him anyway, which is very tragic, because he dedicated his life to the Brotherhood. He got a bit absorbed in his research, but you know, without that, none of what came after would have happened.
Yeah. He made the Brotherhood that like would go on to like survive up until mostly the modern day, before, you know, the Purge. But,
yeah.
But in order to do that, he kind of had to watch the old Brotherhood that he grew up in and served for so long get destroyed from underneath him.
Yeah.
Which is the tragedy of the whole thing. And so his story in Revelations is basically, hey, Ezio, maybe just learn to appreciate your personal life and just know when to step away. Which then Ezio in turn uses that as a way to go, hey, Desmond, don't make the mistakes I made. Which is beautiful.
Which Desmond proceeds to do.
Yeah, that's 3. We don't need to talk about 3 just yet. But like, it's a very beautiful ending, and it hits surprisingly hard, and it makes you forget that most of the rest of the story was just, yeah, you gotta fight this random Templar that I can't remember the name of.
Yeah, it's one of the most beautiful parts of Assassin's Creed as a whole, because it's, you know, in that moment when you're watching it, you're like, yeah, this is one of the most legendary figures of the Brotherhood meeting another legendary figure of the Brotherhood. But then you've got the meta contextual aspect of, like, Desmond's also there. Desmond is also part of this experience. And
we barely talked about him as well, which sort of tells you how important but not important he is to these games at the same time.
Yeah, AC was always caught in a weird place of, they really wanted to make them the modern day story work, but the more they tried, the more people pushed back, and so the more they kind of kept shifting their plans. And so, because it's like, you have this progress in 2 where you have an outside storyline actually taking place concurrent to the one you're playing in the Animus, and there's and
you actually have an area to explore, if I remember correctly.
Kind of, only in specific
Brotherhood
moments. That's what I was getting to, is Brotherhood then expands that, where you get to explore Monteregione, and you can be Desmond, and you can use his training as an assassin. You can find little neat things in the world. And then Revelations, whether this is a part of the development thing or not, it's gone, because Desmond's in a coma for the entire game.
He's stuck in the Animus void with
Subject 17.
Subject 16?
16. 17?
No, Desmond 17.
17, so it was 16, yeah.
Yeah. Who's Johnny Silverhand.
Yes.
He is Animus Johnny Silverhand. That is the best comparison I can make.
But it removes that modern day element from it. Yeah, there's all this stuff going on with Subject 16, but that's so internal to Desmond that it doesn't have...
And if you didn't do any of the extra stuff like the truth, or especially the equivalent of it in Brotherhood, you don't really know who Subject 16 is, even if you have played the previous game, because if you didn't bother to do that, there's just this guy who's like, hey, I've trapped you here, or well, you're trapped in here with me, and I'm trying to help you, but I'm also kind of crazy.
There's also, like, the things that open up as you progress the main story of Revelations that you can then go do to fix Desmond's brain.
I never did that.
I did them the first time. I proceeded to fucking ignore them the last time I played them.
That's the one where, like, you're in, like, a first-person perspective, I think?
I think so. It has, like, some weird...
You're basically just doing, like, a house tour of all these weird Animus sort of things.
Yeah, it's really weird. It's sort of like two-tone Animus wireframe stuff that you're doing.
Yeah, it's basically an interactive story book, and, like, if you really care about the modern-day lore, go nuts. But, like, it's also, like, 20 minutes of exposition.
Yeah, occasional very basic puzzle solving of putting blocks in the right place, if I recall correctly.
And everybody loves those kind of puzzles. They're the best kind of puzzles. That's why everybody loved that part of Fallout 4.
So yeah, Revelations is I think really fun as a game itself, because you get the Hook blade, which makes the traversal really fun. You also have, like, the sort of, like, tower defense mini game thing.
I did it once when it was mandatory, and I refused to do the rest because I do not care about tower defense.
I found that kind of fun. It's the one that wears on my nerves the most of the Assassin's Creed mini games of that era. But I do find it entertaining to do every now and then, especially when you get the big cannon and can just wipe people out completely.
Yeah, I don't find tower defense interesting.
Yeah, I think Revelations, they kind of did scale back on the like open world stuff just a little bit. I don't think there's a lot going on outside of the main story. It's definitely the one you can tell was made with the most constraints against it, you know, being leveled up from handheld to home console, and probably having a very short turnaround at that point in time, because if you're not super familiar with either video games or video game development, or just the Assassin's Creed series on its own, these games were coming out every single year at this point.
Ubisoft made these their annual series for a while.
Yeah, and at this point in time, you could develop a game in 2 years' time. That was sort of the going rate of video game development. It was very much the standard for Call of Duty at the time. They were doing them in about 2-year cycles, and there was one team at this point in time working on Assassin's Creed, and that's why there's the Ezio trilogy, because there was another team working on 3, but this one team did the 3 Ezio games within 3 years, which is nuts.
That's nuts, and it's very concerning when you actually do know what that would probably would have probably entailed for them on development.
Because it's not even like any of these games cheap out in the sense of, you can say, oh well, they cut corners by reusing assets. It's like, no, there's a clear jump in quality from 2 to Brotherhood, so they had to have upgraded the textures and engines. The parkour also just works far better in Brotherhood, and then Revelations is and Brotherhood's set in a completely different place. It's set in Rome, a completely different map that's much bigger. And then there's Revelations, which has a much older Ezio, so they can't reuse the same model. It's different clothing styles. They're also in a completely different part of the world, which means it's re-establishing all different kinds of visual languages that you could reuse between 2 and Brotherhood, because it's still Italy.
Yeah, they didn't take any of the easy routes between games, which makes me think there must have been deadly crunch on all of them. And again, it's impressive for that they were able to do that, but at the same time, God, I do not want to know the details of how that happened, because it would probably have been hellish on some level.
100%.
But hey, we got a good trilogy out of it. Heavily recommend the Ezio trilogy. I'd even go so far as to say you can skip 1. I like 1, but you can skip it and just start with the Ezio trilogy, and you'll basically be fine.
Yeah, until that long-rumored remaster of the first game happens. It probably won't ever. You can kind of just you can just kind of ignore 1 and move on. Desmond,
you'll get the context from the other games.
Yeah, like 2 does a good job in the opening of Desmond recapping what happens in the first game anyway.
And if you want the story but don't want to play the game, read the book.
Yeah, no, 100%. Secret Crusade is a really good adaptation of Altair's storyline, and ties in nicely to Revelations after that. So yeah, then we had 3.
It's time to talk about 3. We love 3, don't we? 3 is one of our favorite games. We don't have awful thoughts about Assassin's Creed 3.
So let me tell you a story of me when I was in high school.
Hold on. Before we get into this, we need to talk for about 6 hours about a completely different person doing this and doing their own thing before we randomly flash back to us as an origin story, before we then flash forward to finally the rest of this episode. What does all that mean? You're about to find out.
So let's jump back to 2012 when I was in high school. I would have been 15. At this point, I've played all the other Assassin's Creed games. I've played 2 multiple times. I've played Brotherhood multiple times. Revelation, not so much, because that had literally just come out the year before.
You were the prime audience at the prime time for these games.
I had read the books, all this sort of stuff. I was so hyped for Assassin's Creed 3, seeing all the trailers, the hype around what they were marketing the game to be the step up that it was supposed to be.
Did you watch the Smosh video?
I did not watch the Smosh video. I didn't know who Smosh
That was
were
what
at
I
the
was
doing. And I had the game on pre-order. Because around for like my birthday every year, I would kind of either pre-order like one collector's edition thing, or I would like pre-order a couple of different games. Because the year before I had the Gears of War 3 collector's edition on pre-order as well, and I think also Black Ops 2 or Halo 4. No, yeah, Black Ops 2, and then that the year of Assassin's Creed 3 was also Halo 4, because they're all just still sitting up on my shelf off screen.
They were all the same year. Black Ops 2 was also 2012.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like I had Black Ops 2, Halo 4, and then I think just the standard edition of Assassin's Creed 3, because I don't have anything on my shelf for Assassin's Creed 3, so I don't think I had like a collector's set of that. And
that was a big year for the Xbox 360.
Yeah, though the 2010 to 2012 was insane, because so many games came out at that point in time. But with Assassin's Creed 3, I was there. I was hyped. I was waiting. Man, that was a disappointing year, because fuck, Halo 4 came out that year too.
Yeah, I say big year, but also like not always for a good reason.
No. So I get the game on release day. I start playing it, and I'm having an alright time.
You're coping.
I'm coping. I'm not understanding the game that they were presenting during the marketing, because you're not playing as that character, and then you get like halfway through the game and it goes, actually this has just been a big prologue, and now you're gonna play as the character that we marketed this game for, but you're gonna go back to the very start and do all the tutorial shit again, and you're gonna start as a kid, and we're gonna take... I gave up. I tapped out. I did not finish the game. And
you hit hour 3 or 4 of the game, and it goes lol, lamau even.
And so now 14 years later, I have still not finished Assassin's Creed 3, because every single time I try to play it, I either get to that point and I'm just like, I don't care to do the tutorialization stuff again and build Connor up as a character and from a gameplay perspective and stuff. Actually, there is a time I got to Connor and I got pretty far. I got to the homesteading stuff, and then again I just tapped out. I felt like my time was being wasted, and I've just never ever felt the compulsion to actually play and finish that game. I've tried so many times, and yet I just give up every single time, because the game does not... It's not fun.
Well, let me just get a stretch here, crack my neck a little. I actually did decide to go through the whole game when I was playing it for the first time a couple years ago, because for context on my history of Assassin's Creed, as a teenager I played Revelations first. Then my second game after that was Black Flag, which I got not long after release. I want to say Christmas 2013, and I played the hell out of that for like months. So I got full on that. I played in that era up until Syndicate, which is when I then fell off, and then I got a resurgence of Assassin's Creed about 4 years ago almost, where I played all the games that I missed and replayed the ones that I hadn't played in a while. So oh yeah, I also played the first game like around that first era as well. I can't remember exactly when though.
Yeah.
But during that second resurgence, that's when I decided, hey, I never played 3, and now that I've played the Ezio trilogy, I have a reason to go into 3 now. And the first 6 sequences were cool.
Yeah.
They were cool. I knew the twist going in because I had also played Rogue at that point, and like right after playing Black Flag, so I knew who Hatham was. And I was like, okay, I'm not gonna be here for a while, but this is neat. It's cool to see this. It's funny that they're playing this as a twist that I already know now, but it was cool. But then it goes on, and on again, six sequences, and I'm like, there's only what 14?
13. Yeah, I think 13. 14.
So I'm like, okay, when do I get to my actual main character? And then you're a kid. For like, what, 2 sequences?
Yep, and then you're a teen for another 1 or 2.
So only for half of the game are you actually playing the character this story is focused on.
Yep.
Which means the rest of the game does not feel as complete narratively as it should. I cannot remember most of the details of Connor's story.
Yeah.
What I remember is the village burns down, which sucks. I actually don't think I did most of the homestead stuff because, like you, I didn't care.
Yeah.
It's not part of the main story, not really. I've heard from people that it's like the best part of the game. I didn't feel that. I didn't care to do it. So, you know, I just did the main story, and he has the same sort of revenge like story as Ezio, but it's not as well executed because half the game was not taken up by that. He jumps from target to target. You explore revolutionary New York and Boston, which, you know, neat. It's cool. The historical nerd in me, it's an interesting time period. I like it on that front, but you're just sort of bouncing around targets. You're in prison at one point, you break out of prison, and then you meet Hatham, where there's not as much development as you want there to be.
Yeah, because for people who haven't played 3, one of the big things, you play Hatham for half the game. It turns out he's a Templar. If you didn't know that was coming, that was actually kind of cool. That is one thing I will give.
Yeah.
First time I played that,
it shouldn't have been a third of the game, but that's neat.
Yeah. First time I got to that moment, that was so cool. But Hatham is Connor's dad, and after you become Connor, he just doesn't show up for most of the game. He is unimportant at that point.
Yeah, which sucks because he is the most interesting character of the game.
Yes.
I almost don't blame them for putting so much focus on him, because he is, just by being a Templar that you play as and actually see the perspective of, or at least try to, he is just interesting from that. But like you said, he disappears for like most of the second half, and then when he meets Connor, you think it's gonna be like a really serious, dramatic, memorable moment, but then you get the realization of, oh, he already knows. He already knows who Connor is.
Yeah.
It's like he's already gotten through that whole revelation off screen, and you're like, well, shit, what is the point now? They bicker back and forth, do the whole Obi-Wan, Luke Skywalker philosophical debate thing briefly, and then Hatham dies. And after that happens, you're like, well, fuck. I guess I just killed, like... I just find Charles Lee and kill him, and that's the end of the game. Woo.
And that's Assassin's Creed, folks.
Yeah. The thing I mostly remember about like the end of 3 is how fucking glitchy the remaster is at that point.
Is it? Because I never played it all the way through, so I don't know.
Well, playing the remaster, first thing I have to say is HDR doesn't fucking work. It says it works, it doesn't. Yeah. That's a lie. So, but then once, I don't know if it was just me, but by like when I was getting the last few sequences, the game was buggy as hell. I kept randomly grabbing on things that weren't there. I'm pretty sure Connor's like collision just got fucked at one point. The end boss that like, or the end of like the last mission, Charles Lee just stands like in the middle of the room, which I don't think is supposed to happen.
Oh.
And I couldn't stab him, so the game froze up for like a good few minutes until I somehow got into a position where Connor was allowed to stab him, and that was the end of the game.
Damn.
Yeah. it's not satisfying.
No,
not even just because of the glitches, but like none of the game is satisfying.
It's also the game that takes the modern story in such an odd direction.
Oh boy, yeah.
Because when I was gonna play 4, I watched all the cutscenes for 3 on YouTube, and it obviously has the modern day stuff in there, and that was sort of the only part I kind of actually cared about at that point in time, because it was the end of Desmond's story, and it goes in, and it was another thing that put me off of the game in the first place. I didn't really like the modern story at that point in time anymore. As soon as Desmond's dad showed back up and it was trying to do that whole father-son dynamic thing, I didn't like that. And then watching it all unfold on in the cutscenes on YouTube, and then just finding out, oh yeah, Desmond just fucking dies, by the way, is like, oh, cool. That's such a satisfying ending for 5 years worth of storytelling.
So for people who are like only semi-familiar with like the modern day, it might not surprise you to learn that like because 3 was in development hell for quite a while, part of that either the fallout or like what that was partially because of was that the main writer for the modern day story, I think, left after Brotherhood.
Yeah.
And because at around the same time Ubisoft wanted to turn this is when Ubisoft really wanted to turn Assassin's Creed into like their money-making annual series machine. They didn't really know what they were gonna do with Desmond, because I don't know if this was just a rumor or if this actually got confirmed somewhere, but I think originally 3 was supposed to be a full modern day game. But because of how, you know, reception to the modern day stuff in the previous games went, and just how like the series had already sort of formulated itself as a historical action adventure game series, those plans had to get like scrapped, which maybe explains why 3's story feels so haphazardly put together.
Yeah.
Like, it does feel like multiple concepts that just got thrown into one narrative when you really think about it. But because of that, it feels like the only part of 3's story that felt sort of complete were the actual full modern day levels. There's only like 3 of them.
Yeah.
But they feel like they actually are trying to conclude like narrative threads that were set up in the last few games, but because there's only 3 of them and they're not implemented the best in terms of gameplay, because you can barely do the assassin stuff in the modern day levels still. Yeah, like you can't really, it's what I remember specifically is that it was kind of impossible to hide in most of them, which is, you know, the whole part of the Assassin's gameplay.
Oh yeah, because 3 was the first one to add like crouching as like a proper mechanic into the game.
Kinda. There was no crouch button, but if you went to like near a bush, you would automatically crouch into it.
But like the rest of them beforehand didn't. It's always the weirdest thing about going back to the Ezio games is it's like I feel like I don't have enough ways to hide from people.
Yeah. Assassin's Creed is a stealth game series that didn't really prioritize a lot of its stealth most of the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, like in 3, you're constantly exposed, so it can be sort of difficult to actually get where you need to go, because you need to stealth through them, because you do not have the resources to like actually fight through them. But because they're shocking to play through, but at the same time they feel the most narratively fulfilling in a weird paradox. And the last one is actually impressive because it's when you're actually storming the Abstergo offices you were in 1, and you're actually, you know, taking down Abstergo. But then after that is when you meet Juno.
Yeah, the first race, the first people, what are they called?
First civilization.
People. The Forerunners. Yeah. They're the Forerunners. They looked at Halo and
they're just the Forerunners.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, Halo, if it actually committed to the to humanity being the well, not heirs because they're originally a slave people, but
yeah,
kind of inheriting their thing.
They are the heirs. They are the heirs to the mantle. That's why they're claimers. But everyone up until 4, and that little shenanigans with rewriting Forerunner lore, the seeming thing was that the Forerunners were humans. That they were ancient humans. They were what humans came from.
Or, the Forerunners to the humans. Yeah. It's almost like that was where the fucking name came from.
And humans were called Reclaimers because they were reclaiming the Forerunner technology. Yeah. No, they're just entirely different species. And in fact, most of the Forerunners fucking hated humans.
And which is, ironically, is kind of true for Assassin's Creed with humanity and, like, the first civilization as well. But it was more just the fact that, like, humanity kind of got created by the first civilization. It's part of the whole conspiracy thing about, aliens coming down and creating humans and all that stuff. But, like, and they just basically used them as slaves, but then an extinction level event happened that wiped the first civilization out, and humans basically just reclaimed all their stuff.
Yep.
To create the humans that we know now, the human civilizations that we know now, and that's where the pieces of Eden come in, blah, 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 blah. Point I'm trying to make is that you meet them, Desmond finally meets them, talks to them, and it's like, oh, that extinction level event is going to happen again in, like, 2 days, because it's 2012, and it's playing into that whole end of the world 2012 thing.
December 21st, 2012.
Which, maybe the world did end, and that's why we're living in the hellscape that we are now. But, yeah, that happens, and the game decides that the best way to tie that up is heroic sacrifice.
Yeah. Man, this like really is just the Halo 4 of Assassin's Creed.
2012 was a dark year in so many ways.
Yeah, it really was.
The problem is because so much of the modern day story was tied up to Desmond, killing him off kind of kills off the relevancy of the modern day.
Yeah, because they did not know what to do. Because moving on to 4, I guess.
We really don't want to talk about 3 anymore. No. So let's just not.
4 is you're not a character. You're just a person wandering around.
You are a camera on legs with an iPad.
You have an iPad that you cannot get rid of. It's just there all the time.
No. It is your arm.
And then you kind of meet Rebecca and Shaun again, who just kind of use you. They just kind of use you.
Yeah. I mean, if you know who they are, you're like, oh, you're just actually doing the interesting stuff, whereas I am just Ubisoft worker number 27.
Yeah. They leave you to death after that as well. Like, they're just like, we got what we want. Fuck you if you die. We don't care.
Speaking of the fates of, like, the modern day protagonists at this point, it gets worse in Rogue when we get to there.
Oh, I haven't played Rogue yet, so I've no idea what's going. I honestly am surprised it has a modern day thing, which I shouldn't be, but
it's literally almost a copy paste from 4's.
Of course it is.
Yeah, but like, the whole modern day plot is that, like, you're just Ubisoft, like, developer. I don't care if it's Abstergo, you're just Ubisoft. Yeah. They're just Ubisoft in this universe, which is hilarious.
It's so funny.
Given the implications. But then, like, nothing of relevance happens until, like, the very end of 4's story, where you're like, oh hey, it's Juno.
Yeah.
She's out of the Matrix. Boy, I sure hope that's leading to something.
Yeah, that never comes up again.
No, it does. It's just, the other 2 games after that happened, and then the series died for a little bit, so they had to resolve that in a fucking comic book.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So 4 is
4's actual story.
Yeah, I guess a small renaissance in a time of Assassin's Creed, kind of starting to lose its identity a little bit, lose faith in itself.
3 kind of did a bit of damage.
Yeah. And then you have 4, which is the first time I played it, I really enjoyed it, and I really liked the story. when I played this recently over like November, December time, I think.
Yeah, it was decent.
I think it's just a game that is too big for what actually happens in it. There is a lot in Assassin's Creed 4's world, but there's no real side missions, and there's not a really big story being told. It's sort of trying to do the Ezio thing again, where Edward doesn't care about the assassins, and in fact goes against the assassins 90% of the story.
Kind of to actually talk about, because I do really like Black Flag's story.
Oh, I do like it.
I've liked it both. I liked it both times I played. I had the same thing with you though on like my last playthrough, where like I realized that a lot of the world is actually kind of empty when you really get down to it, with interesting stuff to do. But the actual main story itself, when you're not doing tailing missions, is great.
Yeah, and I think that that's sort of what kind of impacted it for me this time, is that I like the story, I like Edward's journey, I think it's the most kind of interesting since 2. It's just that the game is so vast, so empty, and it kind of takes so much time to do stuff that I kind of felt like I was going a bit stir crazy at the end, where I was like, I actually just need to get out of this game. If I need to look at Barren Ocean for any longer, I actually think I'm gonna get cabin fever.
Yeah. To sort of just talk about the story again, because there is a point I want to like really just get out. I love that it is, like you said, it is Ezio's story again, but it's very much a coin flip.
Yeah.
Whereas if Ezio, throughout his whole story in 2, was being gently guided by all the good voices around him because the Brotherhood was basically keeping an eye on him the whole time, Edward kind of ended up getting in the opposite situation, where every voice in his ear was feeding his inner demons, and all the voices that were trying to steer him right, he just fucking ignored because he wanted to be a pirate and get that bag of gold.
Yeah.
And that is great. It is cool to see a character who did not want to be the protagonist, wanted to just be a pirate in like all of its sense, get the gold, plunder, and like just live that glory life, and then just get fucking destroyed by it, because guess what? That's not how it works. He slowly watches all of his friends die like around him across years, and then it's only in the last part of the game that he's like, I don't want to do this anymore.
And I think that's sort of the issue I think is at play, is that the game does not communicate the passage of time very well.
No, it is the biggest weakness, because like you don't see him visibly age at all.
No, and you don't feel like time is really changing. Edward doesn't really change much as a person for a long chunk of the game. The people around him don't really change all that much, and so it's not like Ezio's journey, where typically the passage of time either comes with a switch in location or a change within Ezio, or something that he's doing, or something that gives you an indication that years have passed. Because you play as Ezio for a solid 10 years or so in the first game.
Yeah, around about 10-15 years, I want to say.
Yeah. And here you play as Edward for, I think, probably like a solidly similar chunk of time. I can't quite recall.
Yeah, it's a few years.
It's enough for Blackbeard to have his rise and fall. So that's, a decent chunk of time.
From what I'm seeing, it started in 1715 and ends in 1722.
Okay, so about 7 years. That's
yeah, it's around that time, because spoiler alert, Ezio has a daughter that he doesn't not Ezio. Edward has a daughter that he doesn't even know about for like all that time, and by the time he actually learns she exists, she is like 10.
God, yeah.
It is like right at the end, but it is like the hardest hitting part of the entire game, and I love it so much.
God. And then you see the little fucking devil of Hatham.
Hey, he's not there yet. He's still got his dad, but the tragedy hasn't happened yet, which really should have been its own fucking game. I need to just stress.
Yeah, let me see Hatham's fall into the Templars rather than you know Connor's whatever the fuck he was doing.
Even just another Edward game where like you actually see him in like London or whatever doing his assassin stuff until he dies at the end.
But yeah, I think Black Flag is a really good and very fun game. I think it is another one that's kind of starting to show its age in a different way. Simply because it was caught in that weird place of being both a 7th generation and 8th generation game. It released for both.
It was 2013, so it was like right when when that switchover was happening.
So it came out on both the Xbox 360, PS3, and then the Xbox One and PS4. And you can, going back to it now, yeah, you can tell there's just some funky shit going on in that game if you're playing it on even just on a modern PC, not even talking about like console versions or anything like that. It looks good.
I did play the PS4 version on PS5, and it's like, it's not even 60 frames per second though.
No, it never got that update. And even playing it on PC at 60 frames, it's oh
oh boy,
it's oh, those physics, man, they've got something going on.
Okay, so yeah, that's probably tied to the frame rate then, because I don't remember having too much trouble with the physics.
I don't think console. I know that so the Ubisoft engines typically cap out at 60 frames per second, because if you go above them, there's actually a pretty hard threshold of I think 87 frames per second. That's when physics will start getting fucked up because of the frame rate. In 3, if you go above 87 frames per second, the carts disappear.
Oh.
Yeah, so very specific stuff happens. But yeah, Black Flag, nothing to do with the physics or the frame rate stuff. It's just I don't think it needs a remake, not like what we're rumored to be getting at some point soon.
What we've been rumored to be getting for like years at this point, and it's not been announced, but it's probably coming out.
It's weird. Ubisoft's in a weird place right now. Again, I think it could use the 2 treatment of like just an actual remaster where they go in and maybe update some of the textures and kind of just pick apart their own engine so that frame rates aren't as much of an issue. Because the Ezio trilogy, like 2 specifically, is a very jittery game on modern consoles, and there's just nothing to do to fix that. It is a very, very juddery game. But Black
I also
Flag,
like
you go.
I think just like from the age thing, like I don't know if it's just because like as more games have come out in the year since that have had more substance in their open worlds, or just like and like the extra stuff you can do, it sort of like lessens the impact of like what you can actually do in Black Flag. Because I remember back around when it came out spending hours just like sailing and battling on the ships and stuff.
Oh yeah, my original playthrough was nearly 100 hours long. I think like I put a lot of time in that first time, because playing it and doing the sailing and just being in that world was so fun and so cool. Listening
to like shanties and stuff, like I killed so much time in that, but like I don't know, and it must have been the same for a lot of people, because then they tried to make a game just purely based around that, and it went into development hell for a decade. But like playing it again in just the last few years, I don't know, it didn't hit the same way it did.
There's just not a lot to actually do that feels worth doing. It doesn't feel of substance to do. I remember doing all the like fishing stuff, like where you go to specific spots and do like you would fight the big
the harpooning,
and then like all the diving missions and stuff like that. And this time I just didn't do any of it, and I still spend 20-30 hours in the game. So
I don't know what it was, but the spark just wasn't there anymore.
Yeah, it's so weird because the game still, like, visually is actually quite good. The aesthetics very, very good, and the sailing and naval combat and stuff is absolutely its strongest thing. But there's something missing, and I think you are right. I think it is a case of like that generation of games, the 8th generation, really saw a proliferation of open world games that really excelled in designing the open world and putting stuff in it that was worth doing or fun to do or interesting to do. And I mean, 4 years after this, Horizon Zero Dawn came out and presented such a fascinating and fun open world to play. So to go back,
Assassin's Creed would sort of be its own death sentence because you had games like Origins and Odyssey, which we'll talk about in a little bit. You probably more than me because I haven't gotten that far in those games, but like they have so much stuff to an infamous degree where like you can kill so much time in that game, where like going back to 4 can feel sort of, I don't want to say paltry, but just sort of, it's definitely a step down when you've experienced like the other stuff. It's something I've been thinking about. It's sort of what I call the Bethesda effect now, where like at the time of recording, because the Fallout show is coming out, I'm replaying a little bit of the Fallout games. I still love them, but like I'm realizing a thing where like, because I've played Cyberpunk now, and you know how much I love Cyberpunk, and like all the little things that went into getting that game now that it's fixed. All like the details, how alive Night City feels, and just how much I can just lose myself in that world. Going back to a Bethesda game, in comparison to having experienced that, feels a lot more shallow. Not to say those games are bad, but it makes it kind of hard to get myself as immersed in those games that I used to be able to, because they don't have the same depth anymore.
Yeah, no, I get that, because like I've just finished playing the Oblivion remaster. I can attest to that feeling where Oblivion's a great game, and I had a lot of fun with it. I wouldn't have played 75 plus hours with it if I didn't. But
you've put in the time.
Yeah, I need to admit that I spent a lot of time with other stuff on my other monitor when I was doing that. Sure, some of that was me exploiting the game for skill increases and stuff, but not.
If you're not playing Oblivion like that, are you really playing Oblivion?
But not that much of my playtime was that. Those are kind of quick and easy to do for the most part. But I've done, because of the way the Platinum is set up on PS5, you just have to do all the faction quests and then finish the main story. So I did all the faction quests. But what I noticed is that even in comparison to Skyrim, not even to compare it to any other games, the faction quests in Oblivion are kind of nothing. They're a lot of fetch quests with like one dialogue exchange with someone to retrieve it and then to finish it, and there's not much actual, like, it's not like the companions in Skyrim, where you like have this whole long storyline where you become like a fucking a werewolf, or the way you join the Dark Brotherhood and their storyline in that game and stuff. There's no stories to any of these factions.
Like, people make fun of like the Skyrim stuff where like, oh, every faction quest is basically just your rise of becoming the leader of whatever that faction is. But like, there's still like a story in all of them, and I can remember almost all of them in Skyrim, whereas like I've played Oblivion for a bit. I don't think I've even played as much as you have, like on most of the side stuff, but like, if I'm thinking of Oblivion faction quests, I am mainly thinking of stuff like the Fighters Guild quest, which is basically exactly how you just described.
Which is actually the most involved one of them all. Because the rest of them, like, it's funny because you mentioned the joke about like, oh, every faction quest in Skyrim is you rising to become the guild leader, when in Oblivion it is literally you doing a bunch of fetch quests and then just getting handed the leadership. Some of them you don't even meet the leader until the very end, and literally in the Mages Guild you meet him, he kills himself and makes you the guild leader.
Yeah. And like in Skyrim as well, there's like one of my favorite quests in the whole game, which it's people are gonna say it's not that deep, but I just like really liked it, is the Civil War stuff.
Yeah.
I love that whole thing, just like choosing, even for just your character or just whether you think which side of this conflict is the best, and just fighting through that whole war. It's great.
We never go with the Stormcloaks in this family.
No, we don't like the Stormcloaks under this roof. We are an Imperial Legion household, motherfucker. Glory to the Empire. But yeah, the main point is like even that stuff though, it's very thin at the end of the day, and it's because since then we've gotten much deeper games with much deeper like storylines, whereas Bethesda hasn't really caught up. And it feels like early Assassin's Creed, because, well, they're early Assassin's Creed, that was just the thing you did at the time. Going back to them, you suffer the same thing, where it's like, it doesn't hit as much as it used to.
Yeah. It's also that sort of like, you know, joke of the Ubisoft school of video game design, where their open worlds can be a little...
flat.
Yeah, there's a lot to do, just not a lot of substance, I think is the best way to describe
I say
it.
flat, but ironically, you're climbing a lot of towers.
Yeah. Because it's that also then extended out to like Far Cry during that. I was gonna say that point in time. They're still like that. That's just what Far Cry is now.
Yeah, Far Cry's still coming out.
So it kind of extended to their other games too, but it didn't mean that they like improved what was on offer. It just meant that they gave you more to do. It didn't mean that it was any more substantive. But going back to even Black Flag, you kind of still feel the absence of that stuff to do. Because the stuff to do is kind of sparse. It's pretty much just a case of fight, get resources, build up your ship. Maybe you'll be able to take out one of those legendary ships, and then that's it.
I still haven't done all of them. I really want to, but they're so fucking hard.
I just cannot be bothered to do it. I didn't even get the final upgrades of anything in this playthrough.
Well, you need to find the plans for them, like, firstly, and
yeah, that was why I tapped out of doing it, because I was like, oh, I did this all before, but now I don't want to do the side stuff to get the plans, because then I would need to... Because in my first playthrough, like, I got it all just natively by doing stuff. I spent that much time playing the game. I just did all the stuff and I got the plans, whereas this time I'm like, I need to look it up because I don't want to waste my time, but then I'd be wasting my time because I don't really want to do it.
Yeah. So, in conclusion for 4... The world is basically kind of like flat, and it doesn't hit as much as it used to. The story is great, barring all the fucking tailing missions.
Yeah, there's a lot of tailing missions in that game. God damn.
I swear there's like, what, 3 back to back to back?
Pretty much, yeah. When you get near the end of the game, it just keeps throwing them at you. Just so much. And you'll finish a mission and you think, cool, I can move on. And then it's like, no, actually, you're just going to keep tailing this guy that you were tailing in the last mission.
Do it again. And the ending made me cry a lot.
Yeah, that's fair. So yeah, then we move on to Unity crossed with Rogue.
Nope. Yeah, I want to put in Rogue. I need to give respect to Rogue. Because I also played a lot of that, especially when it came out, because I did not have a next-gen console at the time.
Okay, so I've never played it, and I've somehow managed to spend this last 13 years without being spoiled, so I would kindly ask...
Yes. I am not going to spoil anything. The only main thing, just like... I very briefly want to go... It's good. It's not as good as Black Flag. You can really feel that it was just a bonus game for the last gen consoles while they were mainly focused on Unity.
Yeah.
And like, it's worth a playthrough. It's definitely worth a playthrough. If you're sick of Black Flag after playing it, you're allowed a break in between.
Yeah, like I'm on a break right now, so I'll probably play Unity and then go back to Rogue, because I don't really want to do another game with naval combat right now.
Which is fine. I mean, there's not as much, especially in the main story, with naval combat, so you might be okay there still. But it's worth a playthrough. It's just, you know, it mainly suffers because like it's an interesting story. The premise is great. I wish they would go back to something like that, because just the setup of playing an assassin who eventually becomes a Templar is great. It's amazing. It's just because it's a bonus game, really, it doesn't have quite enough focus on it to really be satisfying. Like, I won't say anything. It's just, you know, the plot for what it is, it's fine. It's just you wish there was more.
Yeah,
just wish there was a bit more.
Because by this point in time, like, Assassin's Creed games had sort of averaged out to about 20 hours long story-wise. And if I recall correctly, Rogue's like 8.
I want to say like 10.
Yeah. So it's like your sort of Halo-esque length video game. Which definitely. I can see being a bit of a kind of stifling aspect of it, if it's especially with such an interesting concept that I've always thought it had. Because it's one thing I lament Ubisoft have never done more with, the idea of people switching sides or playing the other side. You know, Rogue, you get to play as Shay, who becomes
Shay
Cormac, who becomes
Shay Patrick Cormac. Get ready to hear that name a lot.
Who becomes a Templar. You know, you play Hatham, who you find out in 3 is a Templar, and then you find out, oh, he actually was originally an assassin, and blah blah blah. But we've never really had much time to explore those ideas as the person with the controller in her hands. It's all information we find out in cutscenes or through side characters or characters within another person's story. Aside from Shay, I think, being the sort of only one that's actually had this focus put on them as a player character.
And the best way I can describe its story is that for the first half, where you see him like leave the Brotherhood, that's done very well. It's done about as satisfying as well. It's just the other half where he's joining the Templars that it feels a bit too rushed, because they skip over big sections that would have been important for that development, just so they can, you know, have the story finished. And that's kind of disappointing. And I really felt that on my second playthrough a few years ago, which was sad, because I always put Rogue as an underrated gem, and I still kind of put it that way. It's just, you know, not quite as underrated as I think it used to be now.
Yeah.
Anyway. Unity.
Unity. This was really the one where I kind of started to fall off a little bit myself.
I think everyone started to fall off a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe because it launched in a terrible state.
So, fun fact, I didn't get it until it had been fixed. I think Dead Kings was out at the time that I played it.
Same.
So I don't have any of that issue with it. It was like, because of what 3 did, I stopped getting them at release.
Yeah.
So it kind of, I got a lot of them later. I got Black Flag like when I got my PS4, so that would have been, I got that at the 2014, so that would have been about a year after it came out. And so I must have got Unity around like 6 to 10 months or something after it came out. Whenever Dead Kings came out, I think I got it. So I don't have the like it was a broken mess thing experience of it. I just don't think it's a great game at all.
I respect what it was trying to do as a reinvention of the gameplay sort of style, which was growing pretty stale at that point after like 3 had last overhauled stuff. I think it tried its best. It's just one, it was putting more effort into the RPG mechanics that would then become like a very staple part in the later RPG trilogy. But the thing that really gets to me is the story, because this is when Ubisoft were like, oh, we don't need to really do much with the story anymore. We've got a formula down. No one needs to care about the actual Assassins and Templar conflict thing. It's more just about the personal story of a guy with his own personal vendetta that the Assassins are just sort of a part of. That's the formula now.
Yeah. They kind of realized they fucked up with that, like, immediately in this game.
Yeah, because I'm gonna be real with you. I don't give a fuck about Arno's personal conflict and love story and stuff. I think as a character, he's fine. He's just not interesting enough to carry the game. This is the first time I really wanted to go back into, okay, can we focus on, like, the Assassins against the Templars again, because there's some sort of interesting thing you do, because the thing that's not really focused on in the French Revolution game
is the French Revolution,
which is wild, is the French Revolution, but also the fact that the Assassins are on the wrong side of history in this game.
That's what kind of...
Because they support the king.
Yeah. Which is weird, because, like, in reality, the king did end up winning. So in the historical canon, since the victors write history... Sorry, I punched my mic there. Technically, the Assassins won, but technically, they were still on the wrong side.
Yeah, like, I imagine what the actual lore is that, like, because the Templars were pulling the strings of the revolution, they eventually found their way to get influence over whoever won at the end. Because, like, another thing in the lore, Napoleon is completely independent of both the Templars and the Assassins, as we learn in this game. He's just doing his own thing.
Insane, honestly. Such an insane pull for them to do.
Yeah, and Arno's his, like, one of his friends who... I mean, by the time the game ends, Napoleon isn't fully in his Emperor of France era yet, so... we don't really know the details of what happened afterward. Maybe it's implied that they stopped being friends at that point, but who knows? The game stops before that happens, and, like, again, but because the story isn't focused enough on the actual Templars and Assassins, it's another Ezio story of personal vendetta with family melodrama bullshit where Arno is into his kind of stepsister. Why does this keep happening in this series? It's just I don't care. I don't care enough. Whatever it was trying to, like, say with that story, it didn't land for me, and so what you're left with is a pretty impressive recreation of Paris at the time. Yeah, and they put a lot of research into that.
They did, and made one of my least favorite cities to navigate or play, and I just find a lot of it really uninteresting. It's like, oh cool, I'm running across the same looking roof again. Okay.
Yeah, and, like, there's a lot of vertical, like, stuff, and, like, what they've tried to do with the parkour system is fun. It's just, you know, also sometimes you end up face planting because you jumped in a way you didn't want to jump.
Yeah, that's where they've got, like, they've got, like, an up and down function thing going on, where you can, like... I always found it a bit weird. Like, I understood what they were going for, but at the same time, I think simplicity's key for what they had made so far, and I think trying to... It's only, like, a slight addition. I think it does overcomplicate it a bit too much. I think you need to put a bit too much thought into what button do I need to press next to do the right thing, whereas before it's like, oh, I know I just need to release this button and pull the stick in this way to do a back eject and get to where I want to go. Whereas there's a bit more of a thought process in the Unity setup that always kind of threw me off a little bit.
Yeah, I will say Syndicate does simplify it a little bit.
Yeah, I never had...
Syndicate also has its own little problem, which I will get to in a sec.
Okay. I never really had much of an issue with Syndicate's one. Syndicate's mainly came from, like, they were hitting an era of time where the gaps between buildings and roads were getting wide, and then it kind of... But that's when they brought in the hook shot. So like not hook shot.
Yeah.
Is it
the grappling hook?
The grappling hook. So it kind of negated some of the issues that I think 3 was really definitely bad for, in my mind, for parkour and stuff like that. But sorry, to go back.
But yeah, Unity, I can basically sum up my entire thoughts on Unity of just, I respect what it tried to do, it just didn't quite land the way it did, and because it launched horribly, and tried to force in the microtransactions very aggressively for 2014, it kind of killed the franchise for a little while, huh?
Yeah, they came out with Syndicate, which I remember at the time kind of being a little disappointed by. It wasn't until I replayed it in, I think around when Origins came out, that I kind of clicked with it and enjoyed it a lot more.
It's funny you say that, because I had a very similar story, except with a much bigger gap.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I got Syndicate again at around Christmas 2015. There's a sort of pattern for me where I usually get Assassin's Creed games at Christmas of whatever year it came out, or more recently a couple years after it comes out. But I got a Syndicate Christmas that year, and I didn't do much of the main story. I mainly cleared up most of the boroughs until like I did 1, and then I just fell off Assassin's Creed completely.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was about Syndicate at the time. It just did not grip me. I was very disappointed. I was maybe getting burnt out from Unity and seeing that Syndicate was basically doing the same thing, and I still wasn't clicking. I was just like, yeah, I'm done. I'm gonna take it. I'm just not gonna come back for a little while. I think Assassin's Creed just needs to stop for a bit. And then I didn't play Syndicate again for a decade.
Jesus.
Because I only replayed it again last year.
Oh, that's right.
And with that, yeah. And with that time, with having seen how Assassin's Creed has gone since then, and having now played a bit more of the series, seeing more of the evolution, it clicked. I don't know what it was, but I was enjoying myself. I don't think it's like still up there with. I still don't think it's up there with like the best in the series, but for what it is, it's good. I played a good chunk of it. I played a bit of the DLC, and I even got through like the World War I stuff. It's fine. It's a decent game.
I think of that era of Assassin's Creed, it's the best one. I think Victorian London is a very fun place to play in. I want to add, we're currently talking about the 2 games I haven't got back around to playing yet, so I am still talking from an experience of whenever I first played them, which at this point, oh god, was 10 years ago. Oh, that hurts.
And for context, I recently played Unity a couple of years ago, and like I said, I played Syndicate last year.
Didn't you also play Unity last year? I'm sure you sent me a screenshot of the world map.
Oh, yeah, I tried to go back and do the side stuff in Unity, and then I got too fucking overwhelmed because it's too much. It's too much.
But yeah, from what I recall of that era where Assassin's Creed was very much kind of exhausted, not that I think fans were overly exhausted, but that the gameplay, the setup, the yearly cycle.
Fans were a little exhausted, let's be real.
Oh, for sure. I think more in the sense of that fans wanted Assassin's Creed games, but it was more a sense of like the Assassin's Creed games we were getting weren't
they had been milked to shit.
Yeah, because they had been running for almost a decade as a yearly release thing. Because Syndicate was 2015, so that was 8 years after the first game had come out.
And the only gap in between was 2008.
Yeah. Yep. There was no game in 2008. Assassin's Creed 2 came out in 2009, and then after that, it was a year after year thing.
Yeah, and honestly, we might even be wrong on that, because was the PSP game also 2007?
Oh, I don't know. I always forget there is the PSP game.
Yeah, there's the PSP game, and I think a DS game with Altair.
Oh. I remember there was a PSP game with Altair, but I don't remember there being a DS one. But then again, handheld games are crazy.
Bloodlines was 2009, so around when Assassin's Creed 2 came out. And I want to say there was a DS game. I might be misremembering. Altair's Chronicles, that was 2008.
Wow, okay, so February. It was a yearly release thing then for almost...
Yeah, just one of them was only on DS.
Yeah, so they were about a yearly release thing for 8 years almost, you know. And so, yeah, it kind of got a bit... you know, this was also the point in time where development cycles were increasing too. You know,
absolutely.
We were in the weeds of the 8th generation at this point in time. This is where HD gaming was being pushed quite far. We were seeing a lot of really cool graphical stuff happening at that point in time. Sure, the consoles weren't really keeping up, which is why we got mid-gen refreshes for real for the first time. But yeah, Assassin's Creed then took a break after Syndicate because it was... people were just not really enthused by what they were doing, and I think they had hit a point where they realized, oh, we can't just keep doing the same thing every year.
Yeah.
And so they went back to the drawing board, and then we enter...
They hit restart.
They hit a bit of a restart, and we enter the era of the RPG video game for Assassin's Creed.
And this is the part of the series that I can't really speak of because I have tried with Origins multiple times and I've just not been able to click. I'm sure it's fine. I just never been in the mind space to really dedicate my time to it.
Yeah.
And I did once try to start with Odyssey within the last year, I want to say.
I didn't know that.
And I did 1 or 2 sessions and I was like, I'll dedicate a summer to it, maybe. Not now.
So this is probably going to be the shortest part of the episode because I also haven't played... I haven't played Origins since around 2018, and I haven't played Odyssey since that one lockdown summer where I spent an ungodly amount of time playing it. So, yeah, Origins is a really cool game, and I think what kind of determines do you enjoy the Assassin's Creed RPGs, except Valhalla, because I'll get to it, don't worry about it.
Too much. It's too much.
Oh, that's not even my problem with it. Origins and Odyssey, I think your big thing is how much do you enjoy the idea of playing in a historically recreated world, even if it's historical fiction, because they are they're good representations of the times that they take place in, but they're doing both very different things. Origins is a very, very loving recreation of Egypt, to the point there is an educational mode within the game that allows people to explore it from a purely educational standpoint. I think that's a really cool aspect of it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I remember being really impressed that was just a thing at all when I tried to boot it up, and I did spend a little bit of time just in that and was like, this is a fantastic education resource. I could see this being used in classrooms.
Yeah. And so if you enjoy that, if you enjoy playing and existing in that world and doing RPG stuff in that, in the sense of leveling, armor, weapons, the classic RPG stuff, you're going to get along with it. If you're looking for an Assassin's Creed game, you're not going to get much out of it. You're not probably...
I think that's mainly my thing when I try and play it, because when I want to play those games, it's because I want to play Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
And I am someone who unfortunately gives a shit about the lore and the story.
So Origins...
And while...
Sorry, you finish your thought.
Yeah. I know what you're going to say. Origins does actually deal with, like, the assassin stuff, because it is an origin story from all that. I have heard that before, and, like, it's why I've spent more time trying to get into Origins than I have Odyssey. Because with Odyssey, is it really Assassin's Creed?
No. So I'll finish talking about Origins and we'll get to Odyssey. Yeah. But Origins is at least spiritually still an Assassin's Creed game, in the sense of it's dealing with the origins of the assassins to an extent. Again, it's a very Ezio-esque storyline where Bayek is on a very much personal quest, and he's drawn into being a part of at this point in time the group's known as the Hidden Ones. I don't think it's called the Assassins yet. And so it is very much narratively, at least, still an Assassin's Creed game. Gameplay wise, it's got the Hidden Blade, which is a plus.
Yeah.
So you can do those kills, you can do the stealth stuff, which is a pretty important part of the game. But it's very much a historical RPG. It at least earns its Assassin's Creed title. However, Odyssey is just a Greek historical RPG with the Assassin's Creed name slapped onto it for marketing.
With one DLC that kind of maybe sort of ties in, from what I know.
Kinda, yeah. It's side characters tie it in. Odyssey is a very fun historical RPG. It's a very fun time to roam around Greece and play in that sandbox. It's much more of a, I think Blue from OSP described it best, where it is almost as if it's a rendering of Greece from the perspective of the ancient Greeks, with their myths and legends also intact. And I think that's really cool, because that benefits a video game incredibly well. It makes it
that's fantastic.
It makes it fun, it makes it interesting to play. It's not bogged down in being realistic. It's marrying the history and the myths of Greece really well. So it makes the different things that you can do within Odyssey's world really fun. I think that's why, despite all of the sort of shit that I threw at it at the time I was also playing it, that sort of love-hate relationship I had with it, I think purely comes down to the fact that I loved it for what it was, but I hated the title it had been given. I hated that it had been given an Assassin's Creed title, even though there's an incredible game that I think could have thrived outside of being an Assassin's Creed game. But I don't think Ubisoft wanted to make a new IP. That would have just been a one-off game. They couldn't have sequelized Odyssey at all. There's modern day story stuff, but I literally did not give a shit. I skipped through every single part of it. It's so... I don't care. And then there's Valhalla, which I
got nothing for Valhalla. I don't even own it.
It's the other one I gave up playing because it doesn't feel fun to play. Historical stuff aside, because, oh god, the historical stuff, man.
If you want full details on that, again, the overly sarcastic productions video on like Assassin's Creed and history, we cannot recommend that enough.
Yeah, no, 100%. Incredible video.
It is doing a much better job at what we are at discussing the games, if we're being completely honest.
Yeah, but the history aside, because that's already enough of a point to just throw me off when these are meant to be historical RPGs, essentially. It wasn't fun to play. I played this on PS5 a while after it came out. It felt so heavy. It did not feel like an Assassin's Creed game. It didn't feel fun to play. Like, you kind of expect a God of War-esque feeling to the smoothness of the combat, and you don't. It's so heavy, it's so clunky. And then, you know, couple it with the game's fucking massive. It's huge. The story is so long. There is so much to do. I caved in after about 6 hours of playing it. I didn't really find it that gripping enough to play, and it wasn't fun, and it's too big. And then we get to the point of the newer games, Mirage and Shadows, where neither of us have played them. So
no. I was just checking the how long to beat for Valhalla. That is 61 hours for just the main story.
That's a fucking Persona game, man.
For a completionist, it is 151 hours.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I wonder if that's even still correct, considering like they kept adding stuff up until I think 2 years ago. I want to say 2024 was like the last time they released something for it. I remember we were watching like a game presentation thing, and the Valhalla stuff came up, and they were doing more DLC or something for it. We were like, why the fuck are they still doing this? Mirage was either just about to come out or was already out at the time, and it was baffling that they were still doing stuff for the game. But yeah, I look forward to playing Mirage. I really have to say that.
Same.
Because Mirage is a bit more.
Mirage is actually the most recent. Sorry, I haven't to interrupt, but like, it's the most recent game I actually own. And I've had that for the last couple of years. I've been meaning to just get to it whenever I remember I have it. It's just I haven't gotten in the mood to play Assassin's Creed again for a while. It might be my next one.
I picked it up, I think maybe not Christmas there. I think maybe the year before. I've certainly had it a while, because that's what prompted my, like, I'm going to replay the Assassin's Creed games and work my way up to Mirage. Because I picked it up from work real cheap, and that must have been about a year and a bit ago. I think I picked it up near the end of 2024, I want to say.
About a year after release.
About a year after release, yeah, because Shadows was not even announced at this point in time when I picked it up. So, yeah, I look forward to that, because it's a bit more of a return to form of Assassin's Creed. It's not a historical RPG, which is what Shadows is, which is so funny.
Yeah.
Because I will play Shadows at some point in time, but I just keep thinking, why would I play Shadows when Ghost of Tsushima and Ghost of Yotei exist?
That's what I was about to say. So the first thing I want to say is I'm glad Mirage exists, because it means that we might be getting a thing where like they'll go to an RPG game while still remembering the more back to roots action adventure Assassin's Creed game, which is, you know, the kind I love, the kind of what I want to play when I'm playing Assassin's Creed. But my thing when it comes to Shadows, and I have thought about getting it at some point, because I think it's fascinating enough that I do want to try it. I am interested in the characters and just like the time period of Japan. It's just, at the same time, I have Ghost of Yotei I still need to play.
Yotei,
I said Yotei, sorry.
Yep.
Yotei. I still have that to play, and I'm definitely going to play it before I play Shadows.
Yeah.
Because I liked Ghost of Tsushima, and that was basically the Assassin's Creed game I had wanted before Shadows had been announced.
Yep. And it's that thing of like what I think Odyssey does is that it's not necessarily historically accurate, but it is that sort of kind of not mythological, but the way we sort of view Japan in those time periods, because of stuff like Kurosawa and all the sort of Japanese samurai cinema and all that sort of stuff, and anime and all this, you know,
through the lens of samurai cinema specifically.
It paints like it's a great thing to draw from, so you don't need to necessarily be bogged down in historical stuff, which some of the Assassin's Creed games can kind of trip themselves up on. They can try and be too historical or too like wrapped up in being like, oh, this is a just off screen story, there's all this important historical stuff going on, and you're just a character who's just off screen doing something really important.
It is when it works really well in this series, and it is a reason why I can see that it became basically just the historical game series, because like stuff like Leonardo da Vinci being into Ezio, that's a neat little historical thing, because as far as we know, he might have been gay.
Yeah, I mean,
there's you know,
there's that whole thing of like his assistants, you know.
Mm-hmm. Not boyfriends.
Not boyfriends.
Definitely not. Yeah. Leonardo and his assistants, like Sappho and her friend. Yeah, and one standout I always get is like Blackbeard and like his death and stuff, because like there's stuff we don't know about Blackbeard just in the historical record, but like we do know at least the legend of his death, where like he takes like 1,000 cuts to die or whatever, and he was like terrifying or whatever, and we actually witnessed that as Edward and like see it happen. And it's so cool when you know the historical context first, so you know what's about to happen in a scene because of like the timelines. You have that moment of like, what day is it, what year is it, what, oh no, it's today. It's like being in a Doctor Who episode where you're like, what is the date, what is about to happen, this is a fixed point in time.
Have any of you people seen something fall from the sky today?
Oh god, Ben Franklin, what are you doing with that kite? That actually happens in Rogue.
Wow.
I gotta tell you now, that's a fun little scene where you're like, okay, you can have this. This is a fun moment. But like, yeah, but when it's done bad, it feels like it's just it's hampering on the narrative than anything else.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, I think we've covered just about everything we can for Assassin's Creed right now.
How many hours has it been?
It has been 2 hours and 16 minutes.
Holy shit.
I think we've exceeded our Resident Evil episode at this point.
We're gonna have to do a second one of those when Requiem comes out.
Yep. And there's also a sequel to this when we've played Mirage and Shadows.
Maybe I'll have tried the RPG games again.
Well, that's the thing. I'm maybe gonna replay them. Maybe not. I don't think I'll ever play Valhalla in full. I just don't think it's something I want to do. But I certainly want to replay Origins because it's been that long since I like first played it, and I think it deserves that little bit of a revisit.
We gotta try and watch the movie at some point.
I've seen it, man.
I haven't.
Oh, it's
I'm half tempted to mention another YouTuber who's way more popular than us. I might watch it with the Snapcube Penny Parker like commentary track.
Oh yeah, that might be the only way to really experience it.
Yeah,
it's not a good movie.
I gotta watch it. I gotta watch it at some point. It's on my list.
Anyway, thank you guys for listening to this absolutely insanely long video.
If you made it to the end of this video, you deserve an award.
Yeah. I'm so sorry that we talked at length like this. Except no, I'm not.
No, I don't regret a thing. I hope it's coherent.
That's what I'm worried about. But we went from game to game. I think it makes sense.
Yeah, we tried to follow a linear progression.
We tried. So yeah, we'll see you guys next week for whatever that is.
Yeah.
Bye.
We'll find out. Bye.